Hey guys, I have a great piece of news for you. So, from recently, actually from the last Sunday, I just started to host Simuls. As you know, on Lichess, I have my own group. It's called the Butcher Team. So, the Butcher, then you have space, and then team. You should join the team because there are going to be like many privileges for the members of that team. And thanks to one of my students and great friends and big fan of mine, his name is Theo Gantos. He's going to help me in organizing those as well as, like organizing the team activities there, playing some arena tournaments. So it's going to be like a unique chess club for you. You're going to have competitions. And if I see that the interest is big, I can even come up with some prizes, right? So it's gonna be good one. And for example, I'm just going to make in this lesson a short retrospective of the games because I played on 20 boards. I made 19 wins and 1 loss. So just like I told you, a short retrospective of the most interesting and most entertaining games. There were some really good ones, and let's begin. I played this game against Mago. Mago is Argentinian player. I was white. As you know, when you play Simuls, you're always white. I have a choice to choose whether I want to be white or black. Since this was a first Simul, I decided to play white pieces. I played e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and went for Italian opening. This guy went for knight f6, and I always have d4, which is Koch gambit, d3, which is modern Italian, and knight g5, which is a classic that goes into fried liver attack. I opted for this one. He played d5, and of course, he shouldn't capture by knight because of knight f7. He played knight a5. When he played knight a5, I said, okay, no big deal. Bishop b5, capturing, and I decided to go back with the bishop e2. I like this move. It used to be played by Garry Kasparov, Morozevich as well, and they won like a big number of games uh, 20, 30 years ago. And nowadays, Nakamura, instead of bishop e2, plays bishop d3. Anyways, I went for bishop e2, e4, knight e5, and my opponent should have gone with queen c7 or bishop d6. He didn't play that. He just played queen d4. Keep in mind, I don't know the level and strength of these guys. For example, my rating is 1200, but it's not because of my strength, but because I never played any games there. So when I see your ratings like 1200, I also don't know if you're like good as me or you're just some random weaker guys. So this guy played queen d5, and I said, okay, no big deal. I'm just gonna go with d4. I defended my knight. My opponent captured. He took en passant. I had to capture by knight because e5 knight was hanging, and he captured on g2. I was counting on this move, and after like bishop f3, queen h3, now during the game, I was wondering, could I go with b4? Was that winning? I don't know, and I'm not so sure, but I found a relatively easy line, bishop d2. I like the end of this game because I threatened his knight. Since I'm threatening his knight and since it defends pawn on c6, I just want to remove that knight and afterwards to take on c6. So let's take a look what happened there. After he played like knight c4, I took on c6. I played a very tricky move here that he didn't expect. I played bishop a5. I decided to go for that and to go for one nice tactical trick. My opponent thought probably that I blundered this piece, but then I came up with this discovered check. What a nice move. Queen attacks there. And at the same time, I'm attacking his queen on h3 as well. He played queen d7, I captured, and now you know the golden rule: when you're stronger, just exchange pieces. I'm just gonna briefly show you how did I finish him off. Threatened his rook, threatened his knight, played queen e3, threatening both, pawn on a7 and knight on e5, played long castle, threatening this bishop, came up with the king b1, took the knight, and this was like pure demolition for the rest of the game, and he resigned. That was my game against Argentinian player whose nickname was Mago. Then Gonzalo Mello. Gonzalo is, for example, my student. And against him, I decided to play and to go with d4. He went for King's Indian. He's one of 3 my students who I'm teaching at the moment to play King's Indian. Gonzalo went for typical King's Indian. I played the main line, knight f3, bishop e2, and he played knight c6. Gonzalo, if you're watching this video, and I'm sure you will, first play e5, then knight c6, because I could have gone with d5 to take advantage of this, but I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to play castle and to go into the line that he was familiar with, and it's called Mar del Plata. Quite interesting thing in this Simul, I played 2 games with my specialty. I call it Serbian specialty, and usually people don't know much about it. It's King H1. King H1 has a very specific idea. You just wait to see what their reaction is gonna be. It was mainly played by Serbian top GMs, one of the best Serbian GMs ever, Ivan Ivanišević, that guy, actually best Serbian GM for the last 30 years in Serbia, and that guy has been successfully using this variation with white pieces. An idea is if knight d7 to go with g4 and to prevent f5 with a fast rook g1, a beautiful idea. Gonzalo went for knight h5. He went for knight h5, and that's exactly one of the points of King h1. Now I retreated my knight on g1 and threatened his knight on h5. After he played f5, I don't know why. He was supposed to play knight f4, and in the case of knight f4, I would have gone with bishop f3, and if f5, g3. What is slightly better, but that's a long-term positional advantage. He went for f5, I captured, and now Gonzalo realized that he couldn't capture by any of his pieces because of g4 fork. He played knight f4, I captured, took on g6, and now I just started to exchange pieces because I was up a pawn. The rest of this game wasn't even that interesting because I already won a pawn, and for the rest of the game, I just kept on exchanging pieces and won the game. At least, you guys could have seen and learned one new variation against the King's Indian. Let's go for the next one. Then I played the game against my son. To be honest, I'm very glad that I won this game because this was my first Simul, and I was 3 times lost in this game. And now, if I had lost this game, everybody would have said like, "Oh, he lost this game on purpose." So I'm glad that I won this game, but he's like really talented, and he was 3 times winning in this game. He also played the King's Indian. I also played the main line, and against him, I went with the 91. I went for this. This is the main continuation. I want to go with this knight to d3, and of course, he should be moving the knight back. Every King's Indian player, as you know, they just have to move the knight back and break on the king's side with f5. I played knight d3, he played f5, f3, f4, I played c5, and that's how white plays in the King's Indian. He just goes with bishop d2, rook c1, knight b5, while at the same time, if he starts pushing these pawns, you can retreat with your knight on f2 and stop g4. He went for g5, I played h3, he played knight g6, I played bishop d2, and played h5. I gotta tell you that so far he just played a perfect game. After the game, I told him he played bishop d7. He wasn't supposed to do that. He had to make rook f7, bishop f8, this rook goes on g7, and if necessary, if needed, he should be going with knight f6 to push g4. Otherwise, he just goes with this plan, and this is famous plan for the first time applied in chess practice in Mar del Plata back to 1953, I believe, in some Argentinian city by Grandmaster Gligoric. And that's a beautiful one. Rook on f7 goes on g7, supports g4. At the same time, on the 7th rank, it stops further penetration by white. with the knight b5. And that's a crucial thing in King's Indians. You should never let them, black should never give up the light square bishop. That's a golden rule of Mar del Plata positions. My son, as you know, he's 7. He cannot know all these things. He played b6. I captured and played knight b4. And he played king h8. When I asked him why, he said to play rook g8, which was a very clever idea. Also, he said he wanted to remove from potential diagonal after knight c6. But when I jumped on c6, he made a mistake. He gave up the light square bishop for the pawn, which gives me much better game. And then all of a sudden, I'm so much better. He was supposed not to take on c6, but to pretend like nothing's happening, play queen f6, and afterwards play rook g8 and eventually somehow break on the king side. Position would be absolutely unclear with mutual chances. That's the point of Mar del Plata. These guys just go for the attack. And I always say it's way easier and way simpler for black to play these positions than to white, because black is the one who plays around the white's king, and that's always scary. On the other hand, when you're white and when you play against Mar del Plata, you play on the queen side, you can win all his pieces and still get mated on the. That's why I prefer, from practical point of view, this for black player. Anyways, my son made a mistake. He was supposed to capture to play queen f6 and to avoid this capture. After this, he played rook c8, tried to block me with the knight c7. I played bishop b4. He captured, played rook f6, and he showed some very stubborn defense in this point. I'm still showing you this game because I blundered not something. Play the most logical move. Of course, that I'm much better. I got a bishop pair. He doesn't have an attack. He lost the light square bishop, which means that his Mar del Plata is pretty bad. And I got a passed pawn. And then I play the most logical move, bishop c4. When you play simuls, you play 20 games at once, and you don't have so much time. And then you just have to rush up a little bit. Also, I believe that I restricted myself on 25 minutes per game. I played bishop c4, threatening mate. Engine showed here that he missed the winning move, knight e7, because he defends mate on g8, threatens queen, and at the same time he could have won the pawn on c6. Luckily, he didn't see that. He didn't win this game. Otherwise, everybody would accuse me of being ambitious father who just wants to give my son points and to make him famous. Anyways, after he played like bishop e7, I played bishop e3, played a4 and a5, and I just got into a winning position afterwards. Then let's go for the next game. Next game was game against Crandall. Crandall is my student, Chris Gulick from United States. And he's a great player, showing a great improvement lately. Another King's Indian player. So there is only one more guy who I'm teaching King's Indian. And I once again used this Serbian pattern in Mar del Plata with the King H1. So you see, I played in Simul 3, I believe 4 D4 games, actually 4 D4 games, and 3 of those games were against my students who played the King's Indian. No, I don't teach all my students King's Indian. You don't have to worry about that. I actually try to adequately find the openings fits their chess sensibility. These guys are just attackers. They like tactics, and I believe that this kind of players, you have to teach tactics. He also played like King H1 98. If you remember, Gonzalo from Portugal played knight h5. Chris played 98. 98 is considered to be one of the best moves. He still wants to go with f5, and here I have two options. I got an option of retreating my knight back to g1, which was played in game Ivanišević-Halkias, and Ivanišević won that game. By the way, don't forget that Serbian guy is probably considered to be the best player to play this opening, together with Nikola Sedlak, another GM and coach of Serbian team. And I just opted for 91. An idea of 91 is when he plays e5 to capture. If he captures by piece, then I have control of the e4 square. I would bring my knight back to f3 and g5, and e4 square would be mine. So every King's king's Indian player should take by pawn. That's what I teach my students, always take by pawn. And here, I just opted for that crucial idea, it's f4. Grace knew that he had to keep the tension and played knight g6. It's always good if black plays e4. Then you go bishop e3, bishop d4, knight c2, knight e3, and you just set an ideal blocking piece against the e4 pawn. He played knight g6, which is way more flexible. I played knight d3 to provoke him to go e4, and he did it. He was supposed to play queen e7 with absolutely great game, full of flexibility for black, and I even find black's position maybe even more promising than white. He didn't play that. He played e4. I came back here. He played queen h4. I played knight c2, went with g3, played knight to e3, and he made one of the crucial mistakes in the game. Knight g4 was a pretty big mistake. Instead of knight g4, I believe that he had to play something else. Definitely not this one. I was expecting that he could go with knight g4, in which case you just react like this, take on e4. I played knight g5, but I could have won that pawn with the knight f2 and to go after the g4 pawn immediately and to immediately be up 2 pawns to win the game. Played knight g5, he played bishop f5, knight h6, played bishop e4. I took the bishop, and after this check, I just managed to win the bishop and managed to win. That was the last King's Indian that I had in this game, and now in this Simul, and now I just want to show you a couple of other interesting games. For example, Bishop's Opening. Bishop's Opening, I played against this guy, Reagan from Croatia, 2100, which means pretty good player. I played e4, e5, and I played my favorite Bishop's Opening. As you know, I just finished and wrote and published the book on Chessable, so I went for this bishop c4. I had a perfect score with it. He played the Berlin defense, I played d3, and he played bishop e7. Quite an interesting move, because if I play knight f3, he's going to be playing knight c6. And if he goes for knight c6, then it's Italian Open. So I played bishop b3, and after d6, played f4. As you know, one of the main ideas of the Bishop's Opening is to go with the knight c3 and f4. He captured, I played knight f3, played castles, and played knight c3. Just like you see, my opponent also went for a pretty logical and pretty good development. I put my king in safety. Usually I say when you have like open king on diagonals like this, always put it in safety on each one and just wait for other, like happenings in the game. He played knight bd7, I played queen d2, rook e8, h3, nothing. I was just waiting to see what was he trying to do. Played rook e8 d1, he captured, and played knight h7. I pushed d4, he played d5, I played d5. I was very happy with the way I was maneuvering this game, even though I didn't make all the best and most accurate moves. I like White's maneuvering, actually my maneuvering in this game. I played knight e2, and slowly but surely I was generating all my pieces onto the king side and preparing myself to attack. Reagan played a5, I played knight h5, which turns out to be a decisive thing. Here, and not just here, but the next couple of moves, I missed the winning combination. I had knight f6, and if g takes, e takes, where the g5 knight would be hanging, and I would be completely winning. I completely missed that, but I played rook e3, which was fairly nice, captured an a4, played h4, brought my rook into the action, and this is the moment where the Croatian guy Reagan resigned because he simply couldn't defend g7, h6, and king was kind of mated. To be honest, pretty nice game, even though Engine will find many inaccuracies or just better ideas. Then another Bishop's Opening game against Metinya, almost 2000. I don't know who this guy was, but certainly another friend of the group. Once again, the Butcher team, go on Lichess and join. So I played bishop c4, he played Berlin defense and played c6, which is considered to be the main line. I played knight f3, queen c7, castles, he played d5, played bishop g4, which was kind of inaccurate. I played g4, took on e5, and I believe that already after 10 moves I was winning because he cannot capture by queen because of exposed king. He played bishop d6, I captured. His rook was threatening to take on h3, played queen f3, threatened to jump knight e5, played rook e1 check, played knight c3, and when he played this, brought my queen onto g2 like I was fianchettoing my queen. But d5 is a problematic. Also, the only defender is knight, so let's see how did I solve this. He played rook h4, which was bad. I played bishop g5, took, played knight d5, and in position like this, I finished him off. I was up 2 pawns, and he had a weak king, so I won this game relatively easy afterwards. And now let me show you 2 most beautiful games from Simul. I'm certainly going to show you even the game that I lost there. This is against, not this one. This one wasn't the most beautiful, but Reuben is another good friend. And Reuben from United States, he's a regular member of the Butcher team on Lichess, and he just made a blunder. So he played Scandinavia, and I captured, played knight c3, and I played my favorite triangle system. Why do I call it triangle? Because when you play bishop c4, d3, bishop d2, and queen e2, there we go. We actually create triangle of this 6 pieces. Queen e2, bishop d2, d3, bishop c4, knight c3, and pawn c2. So this is triangle, and that's what I created here. Reuben played b5 and played d6. I know that when they play e6, we should be going with d4 because they just close and create weak light square bishop. I played rook e1, and just like you see, I played like 12 relatively normal moves. Here I played knight g5. I am not so sure how should he react against this one because I'm threatening knight d6 and I'm threatening bishop e6. So 99% he's got some sort of like defense, maybe even knight d5, but I'm not so sure. Reuben played rook f to e8, and I played knight f7. He blundered the typical f7 sacrifice. He can't take by king because I would just take by queen and mate him. He played knight d5 and resigned the game because he probably realized that when I play queen e6, that's what I'd do here. I would be threatening knight h6 with the smothered mate queen knight f7. That's the game against Reuben. And what else do we have? We have game against. Let me just see. There were like some interesting games there. Just a moment. I gotta see the position and then I'll know what did we do and what did we play. So nuclear error, not this one, not this one, and this is one of the game. Untapped potential. So let's take a look at this one. I won this game, but it was relatively interesting game. It was butchered, the Sicilian knight e3 d6, and you know what my suggestion in the course is: d4, capturing by queen, and this is Carlsen's system. Carlsen's system because Carlsen is the first one who applied this idea in the practice. I played b3, knight c6, brought my back to d2, bishop goes on b2, and you play long castle. And whatever they do, you just put your king on b1 and play g4. A piece of a great advice here: you can play g4 right now. It would be a big mistake because if you play g4, you lose on the spot. Believe it or not, knight takes g4. What's so special about this knight takes g4 move? When you take bishop g5, and just because you have the queen on d2 and king on c1, you lose. That's why I first play king b1, and now I can go with g4 since they don't have any more of those kinds of tricks. He played knight d7, I played h4, I played g5, and just like you see, my knight goes on h3, and I want to use it, for example, with the bishop on b2. Very unusual in this butcher, the Sicilian variations. Usually the dark square bishop is going to be open like that. And here, since it was Simul, I just decided to have some fun. Of course, that in normal circumstances, I would most likely play knight e2 with more or less normal game, knight d4, or just knight f4, just knight g3, knight h5. But in this game, I just decided to go a little bit crazy and play knight e5. He takes, and he played knight b8. I could have taken the pawn on b4, but that wasn't in my focus. I threatened mate, and he had to play f6. I played knight f4 to go with the knight h5. He played bishop f5. Clever move. He threatens to take on c2 and to come up with some tricks. I played rook h2. I want to double up my rooks, and at the same time, I'm just defending c2. He played knight b7, rook g2, and now I'm threatening g takes, and knight h5, for example. He played queen c5. I decided not to exchange queens. H takes g5, and let's be objective here. I'm most likely completely lost because I'm down a piece. Maybe I have some crazy sacrifices. He captured, played knight f6, which gave me a great time. I believe knight e5 was the right move here. But when he played knight f6, that gave me a great tempo. I took on g5, threatening queen. And this is a good thing. When he moved the queen, now I played bishop d3 to play rook g1. He probably put all his hopes into this 98 move, and this is why I like this game, because it ended in a very nice tactical fashion, very characteristic for my games. Rook takes g7, queen h6, and he resigned the game. A nice one. And let me just show you. Looks like I don't have all the games here. I wanted to show you one very nice Bishop's opening game, but that game doesn't exist. I also cannot find the game that I lost, and I just have to apologize to you for that one. And by the way, next time when I play these games, you're gonna be I'm gonna record this, and I'm just gonna publish that out just like that on I found the game. This is the Bishop's opening, one of the most attractive games. I gotta apologize to the guy who won this game in the Simul. I simply cannot find the game at the moment, but doesn't matter. As soon as I find it, I'm gonna publish the game out. This is the game. I played Bishop's opening, another Bishop's opening, and another Berlin defense. The guy played Bishop c5. Whoever bought my course about the Bishop's opening, he should be knowing that here they have c6, which is one of the main lines, and then you just go with queen f3 or knight f3. I gave that as an additional part of the course after I published out the course. Knight f3 is more solid. Well, in this game, if they go with d6, then they just transpose into the main positions. I played f4, they go bishop g4, and played knight c6. Here, in the course, I gave two approaches. Knight a4 for a long term and a slight advantage, because you remove one of the most annoying pieces, and that's the bishop on c5. I kind of like this bishop for black, but it's not dangerous at all. And by the way, knight a4 can solve the problem of it with knight, white is a long-term better. But somehow I really enjoy in this h3 variations, and all the time I just go with h3. Bishop f3, queen f3, knight d4, and I play queen g3. I know that even Akiba Rubinstein and Marshall and I don't know, some other guys played this variation, and I really enjoyed still for myself. The guy captured, and probably this is 50th game that I play like this. According to the engine, it should be drawn. But I believe in the practical game, as a practice has shown, no one of my opponents can defend so easily. And you'll see what happened in this game. It was spectacular. Endgame. I took on g7, and I'm threatening mate, and I'm threatening rook. He had to go rook f8. I'm threatening knight. One of my games in the past, one guy played against me knight h5. I played queen g4, and I was winning. This guy played the best. I played bishop g5, threatening this knight. He brought a bishop back, and I played rook f1. And now, usually, engines show queen d7, and when you play bishop f6, white is better. But this guy played knight h5. I said, okay, this cannot be good, because if it was good, I would cover that in my course. So I gotta probably punish him immediately, and I came up with this. He played only move, king d7, and I was very happy when during the simul I found queen e5, because I realized if he takes, I would just mate the king with the queen e6. And then out of nowhere, my next opponent's next move was knight g7. He stops queen e6, his upper rook, clear upper rook, and we have a weak king. Engines say we're completely winning the bishop g5. I absolutely didn't even think of this move. I played queen g7, and I was very happy when I found the next move because I realized he had to go like this. And I was very proud of myself when I played bishop e8. Point is, if he plays king e8, rook f8 is checkmate. Then all of a sudden, when I played bishop e8, without any thinking, he went king c8. I almost fell off the chair because I realized if I take on f8, he would play queen d3 check, king c1, queen c2, and if king e1, knight c2, king f2, queen e3, king f1, queen e1 checkmate. And I said, oh my goodness, I was gonna lose this game. So I played bishop d7, a great move. And I realized when he takes, and he had to take, otherwise he's losing the queen after rook f8, I give check. And when he goes like this, I said, okay, this is the best I can see. Then I started thinking a little bit more about this position, and I realized I had 2 pawns for the piece. While I can't approach closer to the knight, because he would just give me this cover check and win my rook. So I said, I can't play this. So what am I supposed to do? I gotta keep my king on d1 to kind of keep restricted knight on a1. How to do? And I decided to play position. I played d4. My opponent played b5. He also can't move. I played e5. He played b3. I played knight e4. He played b3. I captured, and now d4 pawn was hanging, and I played d5. After the game, the fun fact was that I simply played this on the engine. I almost played a perfect game. My opponent played quite an interesting game, but during most of the game, I was just better. He played knight to d4. I played g4. I just decided to keep on improving my position. And here, for the first time, I said, okay, time to get a third pawn because he's about to get a pawn on b2. I went here, came up with this first check, and probably he was expecting rook h7. I was very happy when I found this one, and when I played especially next move, knight d6, because I'm about to get a bishop on a d8. He had to capture. He played rook b8 to face my e7 with king d7, but he forgot that I can push and promote it. Guys, hope that you enjoyed in this retrospective of the games. I once again apologize to the only guy who beat me in the Simul. Let me just see. I'm just see the text. And Leon Montadella, that's the guy who won the game. Congratulations to that game. Congratulations to me, who managed to win like 19 games. I'm going to have these retrospective things. Go on Lichess, become a member of the Butcher team. Theo Gantos is going to, allow you to become a member of the team, and we're gonna have tournaments, simuls, and you're just going to be like a very, let's just say, member of very specific online chess club with lots of activities in the future. Thanks, and this is going to be on a regular basis when I have time, and whenever we do simul or some competition, I'm just going to upload these kinds of records and analysis. Bye bye, guys.